On Father's Day, I discovered an incredible surprise in a box my daughter sent my wife's warning. John stood in the modest kitchen of their small home, sunlight spilling through the window, illuminating faded family photographs scattered on the walls. Today was supposed to be a celebration, but all that clouded his heart was the unsettling reminder of the daughter he had lost. Emily. It had been 2 long years since their last conversation, a silence that felt like a void echoing with unspoken words and memories. On this Father's Day morning, the clinking of dishes felt heavier than usual, as if washing the plates could scrub off discontent along with the grime. "Don't open it," John Maria's voice broke through his thoughts like thunder. She stood by the doorway, arms crossed, brows furrowed, her expression steeped in both concern and love. The box, mildly weathered from its journey, looked innocuous, yet John could sense the storm brewing within. Emily had seized the courage to reach out after all this time, but was he ready for what lay inside? He hesitated, biting the inside of his cheek, his mind swirling with fleeting memories of laughter and warmth. Round Thanksgiving dinners, Emily's face lit by the glow of candles, summer barbecues rich with cooking smells, the stinging taste of absence rushed back to him, threatening to pull him under. Could this be a step toward healing or another bandage over the wound? In the end, he couldn't fight the longing to bridge the chasm that had grown between them. With trembling hands, John grabbed a knife and sliced through the tape. As he peeled back the flaps, silence filled the air, heavy with anticipation. Inside lay letters, crammed together like apologies longing to break free. They whispered of regret, yet echoed with the warmth of memories. A photo fell out, Emily as a small girl grinning ear to ear on a sunny day, her eyes sparkling with innocence. It plunged straight into his heart, a physical pang that mingled with hope. Just as the flood of emotion surged within him, he heard a familiar voice from next door. Sam, the elderly veteran, leaned against the wooden fence separating their yards. "You look like you've seen a ghost, John." His eyes twinkled, a knowing smile on his face. "Found something from Emily," John managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. Sam stepped closer, the distance of years between them dissolving. They shared a moment of silence, letting words hang in the weight of their shared experience. "You know," Sam started, his weathered hands gesturing as if painting a picture, "family is worth the fight. I lost a son once and I learned love asks for sacrifice. It's the scars that teach us." John felt a warmth with Sam's words, but doubt gnawed at him. What if past hurts resurfaced? Before he could dwell any longer, Sam's gentle assurance ignited a defiance within him. Just then he picked up a videotape lying beneath the letters. He steadied his breath, memories flooding in. Flipping the tape over, his heart raced as he caught a glimpse of a photo tucked in. It was Emily standing tall, her latest trophy glinting proudly in summer light, a success he never imagined. She was thriving, contrary to the narrow definitions of achievement he had. What did this redefine for him? It stirred uncertainties deep in his chest. Could he break down the walls built up around them? Caught between his instincts to protect and to embrace, John glanced at Marie. Her worried eyes mirrored his uncertainty. Right there, standing at the edge of tension and yearning, he felt the weight mounting. The path forward wasn't clear, but the question loomed larger. Could he reconcile their love with the painful echoes of the past? The flicker of hope was there, and it danced invitingly on the precipice, urging him on. John didn't know how long he stood there, the videotape warm in his grasp. The mix of emotions churned inside him like a storm. The idea of seeing Emily's face, even in a recorded moment, sent a thrill of both dread and excitement cascading through him. He felt the weight of the world pressing down, the expectations of a father, the yearning of a man desperate to reconnect. "Do you want to watch it?" Sam asked gently. His voice was barely above a whisper, like a soft breeze nudging John closer to the edge of the cliff he hovered above. John nodded slowly, swallowing hard, the lump in his throat growing larger. "Let us do it," he finally managed to say, his heart racing as he glanced over at Marie. She offered a tentative smile, though the worry in her eyes remained. Could they truly face the memories that this tape might revive? It felt like pulling at a thread that could unravel everything they had fought to secure. With Sam's help, John set up the small TV in the corner of the kitchen. The screen flickered to life as he inserted the tape. The old machine whirred and clicked, making him feel like he was fumbling through time. For a brief moment everything felt suspended. And then there she was, Emily's bright smile filled the screen, her youth and vivacity blindingly evident. Dressed in her cheerleading outfit, she bounced with energy, her contagious laughter spilling through the speakers. Suddenly, John was 15 years younger, the years slipping away, replaced by the memory of his daughter, who had wanted so much to make him proud. "Dad, I won," Emily said cheerfully, her voice ringing clear. "Look at my trophy." She held up the shimmering object, her enthusiasm palpable even through the screen. John's heart leapt. For a fleeting second, he saw the girl he remembered, the girl who brought joy into every room. But then the footage cut to a later moment. The vivacious laughter faded, and behind the smiles was a hint of something that pulled at the corners of John's heart, a sadness he hadn't wanted to acknowledge. It was as if he looked at his own heart laid bare. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty, a shadow passing over that sunshine he desperately clung to. Marie reached for his hand, squeezing it tight. He felt her warmth beside him, a reminder that they were in this together, that they had to heal together. John focused back on the screen, his heartbeat mingling with the sounds of his daughter's life played out before them. "After all these years," John murmured, trying to piece together the fragments of memories and dreams he'd let slip away. He knew he would have to face the truth, no matter how painful. As the video continued, moments of Emily's accomplishments flashed: the awards, the smiles, the friends. Each captured moment was a thread he had missed, a long-awaited bridge back to the love he thought he lost. Tears pooled in his eyes, but he blinked them away. This wasn't just about reliving the past. It was a chance to understand the present. If only he could talk to her again. If only. Suddenly the screen went dark. The tape had finished, but the silence that followed was deafening. John turned to Marie, his heart racing. "What if I reach out? What if she's waiting for me to say something?" Marie met his gaze, her eyes teeming with mixed emotions. "What if what you find isn't what you expect?" The question hung heavy in the air. "Even if it hurts," John replied, the conviction growing in his voice. "I have to try." As he spoke those words, uncertainty coursed through him. Would he find the daughter he once knew, or would he open himself to a world of regret? The answer felt like the edge of a blade, a delicate balance between hope and fear. John stood, the resolve within him building, preparing himself for the conversation he had long dreaded. Could he finally leap into the darkness of uncertainty and find light on the other side? Before he could step away, the doorbell rang, jolting him from his thoughts. A rush of nerves washed over him. Who could it be? He exchanged glances with Marie, both hesitant but filled with a growing sense of determination. "What if it's Emily?" John whispered, trembling with anticipation. But what if it wasn't he? The shadows of possibility loomed, pulling them back toward a choice that could change everything. John's heart raced as he approached the door. The ringing had propelled him into a world of uncertainty, the question of whether this moment would bring joy or more heartache hanging like a thick fog in the air. He glanced back at Marie, who offered a reassuring nod, though her brow furrowed in apprehension. The anticipation felt almost electric, vibrating through him as he reached for the doorknob. He pulled the door open, half expecting to see Emily standing there, her smile piercing through the shadows of doubt that had clouded his heart for too long. Instead, it was a delivery man holding a sturdy cardboard box. The man cleared his throat, his expression neutral, and looked down at the clipboard in his hands. "Delivery for John Parker," he said, eyes scanning the address. Yes, that's me," John replied, his mind still stuck on the image of his daughter. The delivery man handed him the box and nodded. "Sign here, please." John scrawled his name quickly, barely aware of what he was doing. As soon as the man left, he carried the box into the kitchen, where Marie was waiting. She arched an eyebrow, her interest piqued. "What's that?" she asked, peering at the unmarked box with curiosity. No writing or labels adorned its surface, and the weight of it felt significant in his hands. He set it on the counter and began to pry open the flaps. The sound of cardboard crinkling sliced through the silence, and with each tear, a wave of memories surged in his mind, memories of a daughter growing and shifting, her laughter echoing in homes that felt both vibrant and cold. Inside the box, layers of bubble wrap obscured whatever was concealed within. He carefully peeled it back, revealing a small frame. A photo of Emily, a more recent one this time. Her hair was longer, her eyes filled with a maturity that tugged at his heartstrings. Instead of the carefree girl from the video, this was a young woman standing at a crossroads, her expression thoughtful. "Wow, she's beautiful," Marie said softly, her voice stirring John from his reverie. He touched the frame, a sense of longing crystallizing within him. There was a note tucked beneath the photo. It fluttered slightly as he extracted it. It was written in Emily's familiar script, neat and flowing. "Dad," it began. "I hope you're doing okay. I'm sending you this picture because I wanted you to see me. The real me. There's so much I wish I could share with you. But words have always been tricky. I want you to know that I've missed you and I think about you often." As he read, warmth spread through him, a touch of hope igniting. Could this be the first step toward reconciliation? Yet doubt lingered like a shadow. What followed the hopeful words? A fear lodged itself deep in his chest as the next lines formed. "Please let me know if you're ready to talk. I understand if you're not. Just know that I love you." Even if it's complicated, he felt Marie shift beside him, her presence grounding him amidst the turbulence of emotions. He turned the note over, searching for more, hoping for answers that might clarify the distance that had grown between them. But the back was blank. "What does it say?" Marie asked, her eyes brimming with concern. He hesitated, torn between hope and the heavy weight of everything left unsaid. She wants to talk. "She misses me," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. The words hung in the air, almost too fragile to hold. "Then you should reach out, John." "She's waiting," Marie encouraged, her hand brushing against his arm reassuringly. But he felt the weight of his past mistakes loom larger. What if she shared the same pain, the same regrets? What if the talk wasn't what he had hoped for? "I can't just. What if I mess this up again?" His voice trembled with fear. Marie stepped closer, her face serious. "Maybe it's time to stop worrying about what could go wrong and focus on what could go right." He bit his lip, caught between wanting to act and the fear of failure. Taking a deep breath, he looked at the photograph again. Emily's eyes seemed to pierce through him, full of hope, perhaps pleading for a chance. The doorbell rang again, much more insistently this time. John blinked, tension prickling at the edges of his calm. His stomach twisted. What now? Was it more bad news? Or could it be something else entirely? "Who could that be?" Marie asked, a hint of anxiety creeping into her voice. "Maybe it's Emily," John said, his heart pounding as he steeled himself for whatever was next. But what if it was someone who would shatter the fragile hope that had finally begun to bloom? John's heart raced again, not just from anticipation but from fear. He turned towards the door, a strange mix of hope and dread swirling within him. With a nod from Marie, urging him to move forward, he crossed the room. The door's wooden frame felt solid beneath his hand as he pulled it open, half expecting to see his daughter on the other side instead. He was met by a figure cloaked in shadows, a stranger with an unfamiliar air. The man stood there, shifting his weight, his eyes scanning John's face as if searching for recognition. "Mr. Parker?" he asked, his voice steady but low. "Who are you?" John snapped back, confusion sharpening his tone. "I know this is sudden," the man continued, "but I have something important to discuss with you about Emily." The mention of his daughter jolted John's body as if he'd been shocked. "What do you know about her?" He stepped out into the doorway, the weight of the earlier conversation with Emily hanging heavily in the balance. "Can we talk inside?" The man glanced over his shoulder, as if wary of eavesdroppers. John hesitated, glancing at Marie, who stepped to his side, her eyes wide with uncertainty. He could feel the urgency in her demeanor, like she was sensing a storm brewing. "Let him in, John," she urged softly, her gaze fixed on the stranger who visually seemed harmless enough. "We need to hear what he has to say." Reluctantly, John stepped aside, allowing the man to enter. The atmosphere shifted as the door clicked shut behind them, sealing in the tension. The stranger walked into the living room, taking a seat on the edge of the couch, hands resting on his knees. He looked like someone who carried burdens far heavier than himself. "Thank you," he said, nodding slightly. "What do you know about Emily?" John repeated, trying to keep his voice steady, a mix of anger and worry lacing his words. "I'm a friend of hers. We met a few months ago." The man paused, gauging John's reaction. "I didn't even know she was reaching out to you until just last week." "She cares about you, John. She really does." John felt the heat rise in his cheeks, a mixture of embarrassment and heartache. I don't understand. Why hasn't she contacted me directly? Because she's scared, the man replied gently. She's been through a lot. You have no idea how hard it's been for both of you. The man's words pierced John, and for a moment, he felt stripped bare. What do you mean? She's been feeling lost, trapped in a life where she doesn't know if she can open old wounds. Breaking the silence isn't easy for her, or for you. A silence filled the room, heavy and weighted. John looked at Marie, who had paled, feeling the gravity of the moment rush over her like a wave. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of an enormous cliff. One misstep could lead to a long fall. What do you want me to do? He asked, his voice softer now, more vulnerable. I think you should reach out to her, the man said quietly. She needs her dad to show up for her, now more than ever. John's heart was at war with itself. The thought of opening that door, risking another heartbreak, was terrifying. But the thought of doing nothing? That hurt even more. The doorbell rang for a third time, this time echoing with an urgency that sent chills down John's spine. Is that? Marie whispered, her eyes now flaring with alarm. John held his breath, uncertain of what to expect this time. Was it Emily? Or maybe something that would tear them apart once more? He turned back towards the door, feeling as if the answers lay just beyond it, concealed by the dark of uncertainty. The risk felt monumental, but for the first time, there was a whisper of hope shining through the storm. Should I open it? He asked, fearing what the answer might be. He took one steadying breath, his heart thudding like a drum. Maria's eyes were wide, her anxious expression urging him forward. Yes, she said, barely above a whisper. Open it. John swallowed hard, trying to shake off the grip of dread that tightened around him. He approached the door again, his mind racing, wondering who or what awaited beyond it. With a trembling hand, he grasped the doorknob and slowly turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a woman standing there, drenched in emotion. Confusion flashed across her familiar face, mirroring his own as their eyes locked. John felt the world around him blur, drawing all focus to her. Emily. He breathed, astonished. Dad, she said, her voice cracking. Tears welled in her eyes, like trapped secrets searching for freedom. I didn't know how to find the courage to come back home. The distance of years felt insurmountable in that moment. Yet here she was, standing before him, smaller than he remembered but radiant all at once. John stepped back, allowing her to enter, his heart pounding as he searched for the words that had escaped him for so long. Marie hovered beside him, glancing at their daughter with a mix of relief and concern. They had both dreamed of this moment, but how could they express the multitude of emotions swirling within them? Emily hesitated in the entryway, glancing around the living room, taking in the familiar surroundings she used to call home. This place was filled with memories, some good, some haunting. And as if sensing the weight of it all, John felt compelled to move closer. He reached out a tentative hand. Can we talk? Just you and me? She looked at him, hesitation written across her features, then nodded slowly. Okay. They moved to the living room, where the stranger still sat, watching them with a knowing expression. John felt exposed, as if entire parts of his life were on display. But there was no backing away now. Who is this? Emily asked, her gaze piercing through the tension in the air. A friend, John replied, not wanting to complicate things further. He wanted to help me understand more about you. But it's not easy, is it? She interjected, frustration blooming in her voice. You can't just expect everything to be the same after everything that has happened. What happened, Em? John asked, his tone soft yet firm. I want to understand. He could see her unraveling. Small pieces of the girl he once knew were fighting against the reality she had become. Emily's breath caught in her throat. It just hurt too much, Dad. I thought I could handle it, but John stepped closer, feeling a desperate urgency to bridge the gap between them. You don't have to carry it all alone. I'm here now, and I want you to let me in. For a moment time seemed to pause. Emily's walls began to crack. And in that instant, John felt hope ignite within him. If they could just communicate, maybe they could start anew. He could see fear mixed with yearning in her expression. Can we try? She whispered, her voice barely audible. Just as he opened his mouth to respond, An unexpected noise interrupted the stranger's phone buzzed loudly in the charged silence. His expression shifted to concern as he glanced down at the screen. "I'm sorry, I have to take this." No sooner had he stepped outside than John felt the air thicken with unspoken words. Emily's eyes darted to the door, then to her father, before dropping to the floor in uncertainty. What if I'm not ready? What if I mess it up again? John's heart ached at the raw vulnerability she displayed. We'll figure this out together. No one expects perfection. But as he said the words, a foreboding sense of dread washed over him. Would they really be able to stitch together the jagged pieces of their relationship? Would he know how to help her? Suddenly, the door swung back open, not with a promise but with a demand. The stranger's voice rang back through the threshold, urgent and sharp. "You need to see this. Now." John looked at Emily, her face morphing into a canvas of fear and curiosity. Whatever lay ahead was going to change everything once more. But was this the moment that would shatter the fragile hope they were building? Or could it finally bring them closer together? Standing at the brink, John realized that the answers he had been seeking were more complex than he ever anticipated. Could they truly confront the shadows of their past? And with that thought, he stepped into the unknown. John stepped outside, the cool evening air tinged with anticipation. He found the stranger pacing in the yard, his phone still clutched tightly in his hand. The fading sunlight cast long shadows, accentuating the man's furrowed brow. "You need to see this," he said again, barely containing a sense of urgency in his voice. "What is it?" John asked, his heart racing. He glanced back at Emily through the doorway. Her face was a mixture of confusion and pain, the crack in their reunion beginning to widen. The stranger glanced around, lowering his voice. "It's about your daughter. Something that happened before she left. Something that she never shared." John felt ice run through his veins. "What do you mean?" The words tumbled out, charged with a mix of worry and hope. Could this information be the key to bridging the gap? "There are missing pieces to the story," the man said, hesitating. "I wasn't supposed to tell you, but I think you need to know. She was hurting more than you realize. There was an incident." John's pulse quickened. "What kind of incident?" "She was hurt, John. And it involved people you thought she could trust." John's mind raced with horrified possibilities. He remembered the friends she used to hang out with, the careless, carefree crowd that seemed harmless at first glance. They had been a source of pride for him, an identity he cherished when he thought of how Emily fit in. All of it now felt tainted. "Is that why she left?" John asked, the weight of realization bearing down on him. "I can't say for sure," the stranger replied. "But whatever it was, she faced it alone. And she is still dealing with the fallout." The dread coiling in John's stomach felt nauseating. "I have to talk to her," he said abruptly, turning back towards the house. The stranger stepped forward, urgency compelling his every word. "Wait. Just give her time. She might not be ready for everything you'll share." John's head spun with conflicting emotions. Time? How much time could a father afford to take? After years of silence, every second felt too long. "You don't understand, she thought she could handle it," John said, frustration breaking through. "I have to make her see she isn't alone anymore." The stranger's eyes held a mixture of empathy and warning. "Just be cautious, John. You could unintentionally trigger a deeper hurt." Swallowing hard, John felt the full weight of what was transpiring. He couldn't follow the vague outline of the stranger's words. He needed clarity, not more ambiguity. Taking a deep breath, John pushed through the door, the warmth of the living room contrasting sharply with the unsettling chill outside. Emily stood there, her arms crossed, uncertainty in her eyes. "What did he want?" she asked, trying to mask the vulnerability in her voice. There is something you need to tell me," John said gently. "Something important." I just learned that just then, Marie walked in from the kitchen, carrying a tray with steaming mugs of tea. The scent of chamomile filled the room, soothing yet heavy. "Is everything okay?" she asked, glancing between John and Emily. Sensing the tension, John hesitated, knowing he was at a crossroads. He could either push to uncover painful truths or offer Emily the comforting presence she might need. The urgency of the moment pressed down on him. The secret shared outside loomed in his mind, with Emily's gaze piercing into his soul and Marie waiting for him to bring peace. John grappled with the decision. How could he wield the truth without causing more hurt? Desperation washed over him as he faced his daughter. What truth have you been holding on to, Emily? In that charged silence, the air thick with emotion, John realized he was on the brink of unraveling everything. Whatever it is, I want to help. I need you to trust me. Emily's breath hitched, and for that brief moment, John thought he saw a flicker of hope in her eyes, but it was soon masked by fear. Dad, she began, choking on the weight of her words, and that was when the phone buzzed again, this time louder, breaking the fragile moment just as John was about to grasp it tightly. Emily's expression shifted, panic crashing in. I can't do this right now. John's heart sank, but he understood. There would be no easy answers today. But if only he knew what wound was lurking beneath the surface, perhaps they could start healing. As Emily turned away, John felt the concrete floor beneath him shift, a foundation shaken, but not yet broken. Would their relationship survive this trial? And what further secrets would unravel in the days to come? The silence in the room was thick, almost suffocating. Emily turned her back to John, her shoulders tense, while Marie watched them with wide, worried eyes. John realized that every moment he hesitated felt like a moment lost. He took a step forward, desperate to bridge the chasm forming between them. Emily, please, he urged, his voice cracking under the weight of his emotion. I'm here for you. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. You don't have to go through this alone anymore. She shook her head, her breath shallow. You don't understand, she whispered, pain lacing her words. This isn't something you can fix. You can't. Then help me understand. The frustration surged in him, and he caught himself pressing his palms together, pleading for calm. Please just talk to me. Marie set the mugs down quietly, retreating a half step as if she could sense the storm brewing. Maybe this isn't the right time, she suggested gently, her voice a soft balm against the rising tension. But John felt an urgency that wouldn't be ignored. If not now, when? You've been bottling this up and it's tearing you apart. Finally, she turned to face him, a mixture of fear and anger shimmering in her eyes. What do you want me to say, Dad? That I messed up? That I thought I could handle it all on my own? Her voice broke and John felt his heart wrench. Every family has its struggles, he offered, feeling more helpless than ever. I just want to help you navigate through yours. But Emily shook her head again, this time with a fierceness that shocked him. This isn't just some family struggle. It was real, Dad. Nothing like you've experienced. John felt a chill seep into his bones. What do you mean? The unresolved pain in her voice weighed heavy, and he pressed on. You don't have to protect me from the truth. I can take it. Promise. I can't, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. You don't know the whole story, and I am scared of what you'll think. Against his better judgment, he took another step towards her, the space between them suddenly feeling so vast. Whatever it is, I want to know. You can trust me. But just as he thought he reached her, another shattering silence fell. The buzz of her phone drowned out their words, and Emily turned hesitantly towards it. She stared at the screen, her eyes darting with recognition and dread. Don't answer it if you're uncomfortable, John said quickly. It's not that easy. She shot back, distress bubbling in her voice. They won't leave me alone. I thought if I could just distance myself, but they keep coming back. The fragments of his daughter's anxiety started clicking into place, like a jigsaw puzzle coming together but revealing a picture he wasn't prepared to face. Who keeps coming back, Emily? Is it someone from before? The fear that clouded her features made John's pulse quicken. I can't explain right now, she said, her tone a mix of anger and pain. You just won't understand. Marie, sensing the deepening crisis, reached for Emily's hand. You're not alone, sweetheart. We're all here for you. But as Emily withdrew from Maria's touch, John felt the ground beneath him shift again, this time with a more foreboding tremor. I need to figure this out, Dad. I just can't do it with you hovering over me like this, she pleaded, her tears glistening in the dim light. John felt his heart break. He was trying his best, but it seemed the harder he grasped for the truth, the more it slipped away from him. I'm not hovering. I'm trying to reach you. Emily exhaled sharply, and John could almost see the walls she built around herself rising higher. Maybe I just need space. The word hung there, heavy and cold. Space was the last thing John wanted to hear. Don't leave me again, he said, desperation flooding his voice. She took a step back, her phone buzzed again. The message popping up was a bitter reminder of the past one he could not ignore. "Who is it?" he asked, his stomach knotting. Emily's gaze flicked back to her phone. "It's from my friends." A silence stretched out as realization hit him. Like a wave. This was more than just healing old wounds. It was life-altering. Would those shadows from her past pull her under again? His instincts screamed at him to ask more, but she wouldn't let him. And all John could do was watch as she turned, clutching her phone, walking away into the darkness of uncertainty once again. What else was she hiding? And how would he ever breach those walls? John felt the room closing in around him, a heavy fog of worry settling in his chest. Just moments ago he had hoped for a breakthrough. Yet here he was, helpless to stop Emily from retreating into herself. She had always been his beacon, bright, vulnerable, and now so distant. As he turned back to Marie, her concerned gaze mirrored his turmoil. "We can't just leave it like this, can we?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Marie shook her head, her features softening. "No, we can't." They moved to the couch, the quiet stretching between them like a taut wire ready to snap. John ran a hand through his hair, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. How did everything get so complicated? Marie wrapped her arms around her knees, her expression thoughtful. "Kids grow up, John. They fight battles we can't always see." He sighed deeply, the reality of parenthood weighing heavily. But what if her battles are too big for her? "Sometimes," Marie said, her voice gentle yet firm, "we have to let them take their steps, even if we don't like where they might lead." "Like stepping off a cliff?" John shot back, the bitterness creeping into his tone. Marie shook her head. "No, more like stepping into the unknown. We can't take that journey for them, but we can be there when they stumble." A small part of him wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. He needed to give Emily space. The thought felt like a punch to his gut. Letting go had never been easy. Just as he was about to respond, Emily's phone buzzed again, a soft but persistent reminder of her ongoing battle. They both looked toward her closed door, the space filled with an air of anticipation, as if the walls could whisper her secrets. "What if it's something dangerous?" John asked, his anxiety rising. "What if she's in trouble?" Marie leaned closer. "That's why we need to respect her space, but also be ready to catch her if she falls." He nodded, his heart still heavy, but at that moment, his mind darted to the past conversations he'd had with Emily about trust and boundaries. How can I trust her if she's keeping secrets? Marie took a deep breath. Building trust takes time. And sometimes it means stepping back to let them decide when they want to share their truths. Before he could respond, there was a knock on the door, cutting through his rising frustration. It wasn't just any knock, it was the kind that spoke of urgency and importance. John exchanged a look with Marie that said they both felt it. "Who is it?" he called, his heart racing as he stood up, a wave of dread washing over him. "It's Tim," the voice replied, faint but familiar. Tim was a family friend and one of Emily's closest allies. John opened the door, letting Tim in, who bore an expression darker than night. "I need to talk to both of you about Emily," Tim said, his voice brimming with seriousness. John's heart dropped. "What's going on?" Tim stepped inside, his eyes darting to the closed door of Emily's room. Worry etched into every line on his face. "She's been struggling more than she's let on, and I think it's time you knew some of what's going on." In that moment, John's breath hitched. This could be the moment he'd been waiting for, the key to unlocking the walls Emily had built. "Tell us," John urged, his voice trembling with anticipation. But just as Tim opened his mouth to speak, another buzz rang out from Emily's phone, loud and insistent, almost mocking their desperation. Would the secret spoken in that message change everything? With a mix of hope and dread, John felt the fraying edges of his patience give way. What was Emily hiding, and how deep did her battles run? Tim looked at John and Marie, the weight of his silence pressing heavily in the air. The second buzz from Emily's phone echoed a sense of urgency that made John's heart race. "We need to talk now," Tim finally said, crossing his arms as if to shield himself from the difficult conversation ahead. "About what?" John pressed, desperation creeping into his voice. "What is happening with her?" Tim dragged a hand through his hair, visibly struggling to find the words. "It's about the group she's been hanging out with. They've been changing her. Emily's not just acting differently. She's getting involved in things that could really hurt her. John's stomach dropped at the mention of hurt. What kind of things? He stepped forward, an instinctual protectiveness surging within him. Promise me you'll keep your cool, Tim said, voice low but firm. I saw her with a couple of kids at the park last week. They weren't just hanging out. They were smoking something. I thought it was just a rumor, but John felt a knot tighten in his chest. You saw her doing drugs? It looked like it, Tim confirmed, his brow furrowed in concern. And I think she's scared. I didn't want to say anything initially because I hoped maybe I was wrong, but John, we need to involve you before it's too late. Maria's gasp cut through the tension like a knife. How could she do something like that? Just so smart. Kids do foolish things sometimes, Marie, Tim replied, his voice steady. But this is more than just teenage rebellion. This is serious. John could feel a whirlwind of emotions churning within him: anger, fear, sadness. Why wouldn't she talk to us? Why wouldn't she let us help? Maybe she thinks we wouldn't understand, Tim suggested gently. Or maybe she thinks she can handle it alone. John clenched his fists, frustration boiling over. How can she think that? She's still a kid. Tim nodded. You need to let her know you're there for her, that it's okay to ask for help. But it also starts with you listening. Right now what she needs most is reassurance. And trust. The words hung in the air like a lifeline. John took a deep breath, trying to keep his emotions in check. If we confront her about this, there's a chance she'll shut down even more. Marie looked at John, her eyes full of understanding. But if we don't act now, what might happen? We can't lose her. We've lost so much already. John turned back to Tim, realizing this was his chance. I need to figure out how to reach her. But we have to approach this carefully. If she knows we're aware of her secret, she might feel cornered. A faint buzzing interrupted their discussion. Both Tim and Marie looked at Emily's phone, but John felt thunder in his gut. It was as if the universe was taunting them, reminding him of the truth they were all trying to uncover. I think we need to find a way to let her know we care without pushing her away. John's voice cracked as he spoke, vulnerability spilling over. Just then, a muffled sound came from behind Emily's door, a faint sob, just audible enough to shatter the resolve he was trying to maintain. Anxiety gripped his heart. Emily? He called gently, his voice barely above a whisper. Can we talk? Silence fell, thick and heavy. Would she come out? Would she let him in on whatever darkness had taken hold of her? As they all held their breath, a thought gnawed at John's mind. What if this was more than he could ever have imagined? What else could be weighing down his bright, beautiful daughter? Would they be able to pull her back from the edge before it was too late? The door remained silent, and John felt the uncertainty crush him. Maybe we need to find another way, he finally said, without taking his eyes off the locked door. Tim placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. We'll find a way, John. But we have to act quickly. As the tension hung in the air around them, John's heart raced. The discovery that waited behind that door could either break or save them all. Would Emily take the leap into the light? Or would she fall deeper into darkness? John's heart thudded in his chest as he stood before Emily's door. It felt like an eternity since he last heard her voice. The silence that surrounded them weighed heavy with unsaid words and unfinished stories. Patience was a cowardly move now. They could no longer afford to wait while the darkness loomed over them. Emily. He called out again, his voice firmer this time. I'm here for you. Just open the door. The pause that followed felt unbearable. Was she crying? His mind raced, images of laughter and sunshine flickering like ghosts through his thoughts. Those fleeting, cherished memories reminded him of how far they had drifted apart and yet bound him with an unyielding urge to bring her back. Suddenly, the door creaked open slowly, revealing Emily's face, red from tears yet resilient beneath the surface. What do you want, Dad? She asked, her voice cracking, sounding smaller than he remembered. It was a challenge, an invitation, a plea all wrapped into one. I want to listen. You're struggling and I didn't realize until now how deeply. But I don't want you to face this alone. Can we talk? Each word came spilling out, fueled by desperation but also a fierce love that coursed through him. Emily's gaze softened momentarily, then hardened again as worries washed over her features. You don't know what you're asking. I can't just share everything. There are so many things, then don't share everything, John said softly, stepping closer but not too close. Just share something. I'll take just one piece if that's all you can give. The air was thick between them and Marie stood back, steadying herself against the wall, her heart a mirror of John's heavy pulse. She understood their little girl was not just the child they remembered, but a young woman tangled in complexities they knew nothing about. Emily wiped her eyes, resentment and hope mingling in those deep pools of her gaze. Then she sank down onto the couch, shoulders slumping as if the weight of the world rested there. I thought I could make it work. I thought I could handle everything without you. But her voice wavered, and John felt his chest tighten. But it's hard to keep it all inside, he finished for her, heart aching with recognition. Her silence was an answer. The battle was raging within her, and he needed to be the father she could confide in, not just the figure looming large across the distance she had created. I was scared you'd be disappointed, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought I'd disappoint you even more if I told you what I was doing. For the first time, the truth streamed through that barrier, the shame and fear that had held her hostage. Disappointment could never outweigh the fear of losing you, John said, voice trembling. You're my daughter, Emily, and it's okay to fall. What matters is that you get back up, and I want to help you do that. Emily looked up, her expression shifting as vulnerability pulled down the walls she had so deliberately built. The tears that had been brimming in her eyes slipped free, and John saw the little girl he loved so desperately peek through. I don't know how to fix things. Let us take a step together, John urged. You guide me. You show me where it hurts, and I will stand right next to you, no judgment. Promise. The corners of her mouth twitched, the weight of years replacing a flicker of something brighter. Okay, she whispered, timid yet shimmering with a brave spark. I'll try. As they settled into the living room, John could feel a shift, like an invisible bridge forming between their hearts. Each word shared shattered the remnants of isolation that had kept them apart, dissolving confusion like fog under the morning sun. Marie joined them, her hand reaching for Emily's, and John took a moment to simply breathe in the scene. Their family was together again. They could heal these fractures. Together they would fill the spaces that fear had carved out. Tell us what you're dealing with, Marie said gently, her voice soft and kind. We're not here to fix it. We're here to help you. Feel safe. The softness in Maria's tone wrapped around them both. It was all the reassurance Emily had been longing for. She took a deep breath, and for the first time, she shared the colors of her battles, the friendships that weren't good for her, the decisions that spiraled out of control, the loneliness that chased her through the nights filled with fears she could barely name. No more hiding, John vowed, his heart swelling with the hope they could reclaim what had been lost. We'll face this as a family. Together. In that moment, amidst the raw honesty and open vulnerability, hope blossomed. The shadows of doubt were pushed aside. What lay ahead remained uncertain but attainable. Each moment shared was a thread woven into the strong tapestry of their family reconnecting and healing. Can we start here? Emily asked softly, a tentative smile breaking the surface of her uncertainty. Absolutely, John replied, reaching for her hand over the coffee table, feeling that warmth radiate between them. Welcome back, sweetheart. And just like that, they began to walk into the light together, leaving behind the shadows of fear and stepping boldly into a future filled with transformative love. As the evening turned into night, the warmth of their home enveloped them. No longer were they just three hearts living side by side. They were a family finding their rhythm again, the laughter and tears weaving a powerful bond that would anchor them through any storm. John couldn't help but beam with a radiant smile. The path ahead would be wild, but with each step taken, their love would only grow stronger. There was no doubt in his heart now, the future was bright. Subscribing to the truth of their journey was just the beginning. As they held on to one another, the beauty of a recovered relationship sprang to life. And you, dear friends, have the chance to witness transformations like these. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that could inspire and heal. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and keep the stories coming. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this transformational ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support, and you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your engagement makes a difference. Let us walk this journey together.